All right, SNL Live, 24 days away from the draft. Cody Stutes at the owners meeting. I'm here in Houston. Cody, anything going on out there? I know D'Amico Ryan speaks. Any chatter, anything you're seeing, hearing out there at the owners meetings?
D'Amico Ryans will talk tomorrow, and we haven't talked to him since the end of the season, so there will be a lot that I want to ask the head coach about, obviously the new players and the reasons they brought back some of the players that they did, and there's a lot to get to with D'Amico Ryans, and then some of the front office folks, the ownership and president will talk, and that's a lot lower on the desire list than the football conversation. I'm really trying to find out a lot about these rivalry uniforms, seeing if I can get some info on that, because I know people like the uniform combo, even though you hate the uniform combo. So I'm trying to find out some stuff on that, and I'm sure we'll have a little something. Maybe it might be tiny, just a little breadcrumb, but there should be some sort of update on the eventual new home of the Houston Texans for their headquarters. And then, I think the more positive they talk about that, the more chance that NRG Stadium is not the long-term home, but we'll find out as the day goes on here tomorrow and at the owners meetings here.
So you think Hannah's going to drop like a nug or something?
Well, I think they're going to have an update on the progress and the ideas that they have for the area. And then, I think a worthwhile update from how they feel about NRG Stadium is a good question to ask.
Yeah, they did have a bulldozer at the unveiling, so I don't know what to make of that, but there was definitely a bulldozer in the background with a bunch of dirt. So
maybe turn one of those suckers on and let some of the defensive players drive it around, move some dirt around.
I do think it's going to be very obvious. Sometimes it's, Hannah's kind of guiding Cal along. Like when they have conferences, they're kind of building off. They're working off of each other. I think when you ask about this, it's going to be very obvious who the shot caller is on this. Like it's not going to be like Cal say. It's going to be very obvious who the face of this expansion, this potential complete shifting to the burbs. It's going to be very obvious who's in charge of this.
It'd be one of these. One of those. And that's fine. Hey, whoever has the best ideas should be in charge.
Yeah, I think she's probably the one that should drive this one. So we're 24 days away from the draft.
Yep.
That is 3 weeks plus. The draft party. When are we going to make that announcement? Tomorrow?
I expect that the draft party announcement for the location will be Wednesday.
Okay, Wednesday.
Tomorrow is the reveal of the Draftomania logo for this year.
Okay, so we have a logo reveal.
So Draftomania logo reveal Tuesday, and we expect to be announced the location on Wednesday.
And that party will be on Saturday.
Saturday, the 25th of April.
Saturday, the 25th of April. There will be, I can assure you, there will be plenty of parking, and there will be plenty of space, and it will
be inside,
and there will be plenty of stuff to do.
Yep,
it will be inside, and pretty much anything your heart desires, you will be able to figure out. So I can promise you that.
Yep, it's going to be fun. I can't wait to tell you all about it. And yeah, logo reveal tomorrow, and then announcement of where it is on Wednesday.
Yes, and then when are we expecting a uniform reveal? Are they going to hype this one out? We got mannequins or anything like that?
I don't. The rivalry uniforms will all, I think, get announced at the same time for the AFC South. So okay. I think that's not a Texans thing that's in control, but but I still believe
no Steve Jobs presentations or anything.
This is why we did this, and this is why we did that. And if you look on the inside of the collar, I will say, I think the people that have wanted a certain color helmet since, I don't know, the very first time Bob McNair held up a helmet, I think they're going to be pretty happy.
Okay. So white helmet.
I would think so. And I would think if they could have had an additional helmet when they announced the new uniforms, they might have had a white one, but the NFL has a helmet restriction initially. And I think eventually that's going to get lifted. I mean, teams will have, 15 different uniforms in the future, I'm sure.
Okay, so white helmet. Okay, so there you go. You heard it here first. All right, let's get into this draft. Prospects that we like, we've talked about a little bit, but let's talk about prospects that we don't like.
Yeah, this is always because it could be something as simple as you just don't like how a guy talks about his NFL career, or it could be performance on the field or this or that. I have a list of about 5 or 6 guys that just have been – I've either seen a mock draft somewhere put them on the Texans, or people have asked us about him a lot. And I'll start with Caden Proctor, the tackle from Alabama. It's not for me. I understand that he's a huge tackle who's showcased some very quick feet, and he's a strong guy, but he's had weight issues at Alabama. He's 400 pounds when he got there. He lost the weight. He's talked to the combine about how, even a 10-pound difference, I can feel how much slower I am out there on the field. And for a guy like Proctor, who's probably going to have to move from tackle to guard in most people's eyes, he's not only going to be moving to a new position, he's going to be sitting. And that just doesn't bode well for a guy that had weight issues, where you're not kind of ramping up and playing a game every week. Yeah, he'll be ready if he has to go in, but I just don't like that idea. I feel like there are better tackles and better guards, guys that actually play the guard position, that have played guard, or guys that are suited to stick at tackle from where he's supposed to go. He's supposed to be a late first, early second guy. I just like a bunch of other guys better than him. So Caden Proctor, the tackle from Alabama, no thank you, not for me.
All right, I'm going to say Emmanuel Pregnon, and I'm going to say this at 28. I'm saying this at 28. I don't mind Emmanuel Pregnon at 38. I could see him falling back even more. I think we've gotten confirmation on the age. He is 25. So you have age, you have limited position flexibility. I do think he's okay. I just don't think at 28 that's a wise decision. So we can discuss it at 38. I think there's probably like a 99% chance I like someone better at 38 than him. I saw a mock today where he actually went to the Texans' 3rd pick. And you can use your imagination, but
59?
59. So these are real things when we're talking age and we're talking a lack of positional flexibility. So I like him. I just don't like him at 28. And I don't think I'm going to like him at 38. 59, I think it's almost becomes a no-brainer at that point. But I don't like him early on based on some of the other options that we're talking about.
Well, and you think, too, he's 25 years old. So let's say he's on the field when he's 26. Let's say he doesn't play much in 2026 because he has to sit behind Wyatt Teller and Ed Ingram. Then he gets on the field at 26. Then there's sort of a learning curve for your first year playing. You give a guy a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. So now he's 27 years old, playing his second year, his 3rd year in the league, playing his second season. It's like, it gets kind of, for lack of a better term, it gets old fast, so to speak, for him. And I'm so glad you said Pregnon at 28, because I'm not against the idea of Emmanuel Pregnon from Oregon, but I had it on my list. Pregnon at 28 was not something I'm in favor of. So like the player, just don't like the spots where he's been connected and associated with the Houston Texans.
Yeah, it's really just a matter of when we've been talking about it. I've kind of talked myself out of that. I'll start the next round. I'm Max Clare, tight end out of Ohio State. Not a fan. I just don't. I'm not as high on him as some people are. Feels like kind of a tweener. I know that he's had success at multiple schools. I know maybe at Ohio State he wasn't able to flash. I'm not as big on Max Clare as I am some other tight ends.
I really thought when this whole process was going to get started, the draft process, Clare was going to have the opportunity to solidify himself as one of those, like that second tier. He's the guy behind Kenyon Sadiq, and it just has not come to fruition. I think the drills were fine when he was on the field. Like they were, it wasn't anything to write home about. He was very fine when he was on the field at the combine. He was fine at the pro day. He didn't do some of the workout stuff, and it's like, dude, you only don't work out if you're slow. So I get that running the 40, it doesn't necessarily equate to football speed, but he was a disappointing transfer at the tight end position across the landscape of college football. He was supposed to come to Ohio State and be a much better football player than he was for the Buckeyes, and he's been very disappointing. And I was a Claire guy. I thought he was going to cement himself. So I totally understand that one. I totally get it. I got similar to kind of the players fine, but the players that should be available when he's getting picked, I think I just like them more. Christian Miller from Georgia, the defensive tackle. I just like the defensive tackles that should be there or in the conversation there instead of him more. So if Lee Hunter's there, I like Lee Hunter more. If Caden McDonald's there, I like Caden McDonald more. And I just like the other defensive tackles a little bit more than Christian Miller. He kind of is in that same conversation as what we just said with Pregnon, where at some point, if he drips down the board, like I like him a lot more. I don't like him at 28-38. The Georgia defensive tackle, Christian Miller, not for me.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I don't think 28 or 38. I think he probably goes later than that anyways, but I could see them liking him. It could almost be like a Pregnon type of thing. Michael Trigg out of Baylor, I'm not a fan. Not a fan at all. I know the vertical got a lot of attention. I think it was under 30. Just not really overly athletic. A lot of question marks about him, and in a tight end position where I think there's a lot of guys around him that are just more intriguing and more complete. So I'm sticking with guys that I could realistically see them drafting, and that would be my three: Claire, Trigg, and Pregnon at 28.
Yeah, I'll go with another tight end who's kind of around Trigg in most people's tight end rankings. Justin Joly from North Carolina State. It's not for me. He's more pass catching forward. I think there's a little bit better athleticism than kind of what you just talked about with Trigg, but I like guys that can go below him, that have a more discernible skill from a blocking standpoint. And I like guys that can go ahead of him that are better pass catchers. So Big Christmas, as he's affectionately known, Justin Joly. No thanks for me.
All right, you have any more? Those are my three.
Chase Basantis from Texas A&M. I wonder if he's a product of the line being good and not him individually being good. Like they had a experienced line with a lot of guys who'd played together and a lot of guys who'd been there for a while. And I just wonder if the line and some of those guys' production, and certainly his on the inside, is because some of the guys around him were really good. So I'm not a Basantis guy. And again, where you'd have to get him, it's a very similar conversation to Pregnon. Give me something else in the range where Chase Basantis from Texas A&M is supposed to go. I'm surprised this guy didn't make your list. I'm not a Jadarian Price guy from Notre Dame, the running back.
I don't know when he's going. Like
I'm not interested at all.
Yeah, it's interesting because the athleticism wasn't that crazy. He really just seemed kind of content with just sitting behind Love the whole time. Yeah, I think there's kind of like an assumption that maybe if Love hadn't been there, that he's just going to set the world on fire, and maybe that's not necessarily the case. But yeah, it doesn't feel like the initial buzz is as high as it was. Like I'm not really hearing him about RB2. It feels like there's other guys that are kind of making ground. It feels like Emmett Johnson's getting kind of a late push by a lot of people. Feels like just in the process, whether it's just noise or whatever, it does kind of feel like Emmett Johnson, who was kind of intriguing because Nebraska, you look at the stats, the yards after contact stats, how much he was asked to do, the fact that they knew he was going to run the ball, tough guy from Minnesota. It feels like Emmett Johnson has kind of stepped up. Mike Washington out of Arkansas has kind of stepped up, and Price has just kind of sat there. There really hasn't been much buzz when it felt like initially that was going to be RB2, no questions asked.
I love Emmett Johnson. I don't know if he's totally a fit for the Texans, but I feel like he's going to be a pretty good football player. And Washington and his speed is going to be something that teams are really going to like. He was one of the fastest guys, one of the fastest backs at the combine.
Good kid.
Yeah. And then my last one here, players I don't like. I know everybody just loves these centers. I'm not a Sam Hecht guy from Kansas State.
Oh, wow. Why not?
Because every draft guy says the same thing, and that's all they say about him is that he's got a real good base, got a good base, good trunk. And it's like, yeah, he had some nice moments at the Senior Bowl, but like a year ago, Gray Zabel like didn't lose a rep. And like that's a Senior Bowl performance that you really kind of talk about and think about. Like Hecka kind of got tossed around by some of these defensive tackles a time or two. Yeah, he won a few reps, but people talk about his Senior Bowl performance like it was some legendary performance they'll talk about around Mobile for years. And like he was fine. And like at Kansas State, sure, okay, yeah, they were fine. He had some nice moments. That they were a little disappointing this season. I'm not holding that against just the center, but I like Connor Lew more. I like Jake Slaughter more. And where you'd have to get Sam Hecht, you could probably take another project center and have that guy sit for a year and eventually be what you need out of the center position. Someone like Pat Coogan from Indiana, maybe. So I'm not a Hecht guy. And I like Trey Zune too from Texas A&M. I like him more than Hecht.
Okay, so there you go. The center whisperer has spoken.
Swarm.
Kyle Nance says Dunker with a trade up after 38, 22 years old. So we're going age. I just 25 seems a little high, but he says Dunker with a trade up. He's from Iowa. Right?
Yeah, it's Jennings Dunker, the Iowa tackle, maybe guard. He told me he could play center. I would think he's probably going to be a guard with the chance if you had an emergency to play tackle. But Big Nasty and they'll obviously have the insight on the Iowa guys. Their new tight end coach, his dad's the head coach at Iowa. So
probably going to get a statue at Iowa.
They're going to name the field or the stadium or whatever after him when he's done. So
he's probably going to die coaching. That dude's probably going to coach. He's like 99.
Yeah.
Unless, sometimes weird stuff happens in the Big Ten where old guys get run out, but he doesn't strike me as that type of fella. Logan Thompson says Christian Miller is so boring, but at least he can move, unlike Lee Hunter. But I think they both fall past 38. Let me tell you this: there's nothing boring about Miller. Like I don't know what you're saying is boring about him, but neither one of these guys are too boring. And I think saying that Lee Hunter can't move is a little silly.
Yeah, this feels like fat shaming, and we don't stand for that here. I mean, at least I don't. Landry's elite at it, but this feels like fat shaming just because Lee Hunter can't run fast in a straight line. It doesn't look good. Feels like fat shaming. I wonder if he's saying defensive tackle is boring. I wonder if that's kind of what he's saying. And I think both these guys probably have a little bit more juice to the pass rush than people are giving them credit for. But if you're saying defensive tackle at 38 is boring, I understand a little bit more. I will not stand for Lee Hunter slander, sir. I will not stand for it.
All right, so we talked about offensive line a lot. I know that's like an area that you like a lot. What would multiple offensive linemen in this draft mean, given the fact that they brought in two relatively high-priced guys at both the outside and the inside of the offensive line?
Yeah, average annual value, top or I think second tackle that changed teams in free agency, and fifth guard that changed teams in free agency, fifth or sixth guard that changed teams in free agency for average annual value on those contracts. I would think that it means that they're not totally fully pot committed to both years with both of those guys, Braden Smith at right tackle and Wyatt Teller at left guard, who both got 2-year contracts. Both contracts could easily be 1-year situations where you just write a check and make them go away after the first year. I also think it's a nice idea to give Cole Popovich like a little project that he can work towards that maybe doesn't help him as much in 2026, but could be something that they rely on or lean on in 2027. If you told me they drafted a tackle who's the guy after Smith and the next year he takes over for Trent Brown as the backup tackle, I don't feel like that's a bad investment of a draft pick. I probably don't want that guy at 28 or 38, but if you spent 59 or 69 or a fourth rounder or a fifth rounder on that guy, I certainly understand it. And then most people want to see them draft a contender for the center spot with Jake Andrews and Evan Brown. So I would assume that they at least have that conversation internally and maybe at least try to find some competition there at the center spot. I wonder if guard's a little bit less likely than maybe a long-term tackle or a competitor at center. And I feel like it would also mean that Andrews and Brown are not long for this world. One of them's not long for this world.
Well, I think I think drafting multiple offensive line, I think it's just it's kind of a given. I think that the vision for me, like multiple offensive linemen, would be a true center and then a versatile guy. Whether it's someone who can play guard and tackle, whether it's one of your guys that your super guys that you've mentioned that are willing to play all three. Like I think they draft a true center, and then I think they draft like a versatile guy who can play a number of places, maybe even later in the draft. But I think it's a given. I don't necessarily think that they take two offensive linemen early unless things just kind of fall that way. Like if they take an offensive lineman in the first round, I think their third pick could be a center. So then I could see 2 out of 3. But I think they end up taking a versatile guy and a center. So it would, for me, it would just be as expected.
So you expect them to end up with 2 linemen when this thing's all said and done?
Yeah, I would think so. Maybe not early, but yeah, I would think so.
This is one of the harder questions for us to answer because how other teams operate could drastically affect this. If a really good tackle dropped to 38, it's easier for them to make that selection versus taking a tackle who may not play or may not help them much in 2026 at 28. So this one becomes a little bit easier to ask at the end of day 1 ahead of day 2 when rounds 2 and 3 will go off. But they are not beholden to playing Braden Smith and Wyatt Teller. It feels like that's the plan and the preferred plan, but they don't have to have those guys play those 2 positions for the next 2 seasons. So if you had a young guy, it would just further confirm that those guys are going to have to continuously keep those spots. And I'll tell you what, I'm softening on the idea of just Smith and not having a competition. I got to imagine Trent Brown's not thinking that he's going to be sitting on the bench. Like he didn't come back to sit, you know?
And they were, I mean, I don't know that there's too many people they love more than Trent Brown. And he played good last year. And I just feel like the underestimation of Trent Brown last year maybe leads to maybe overestimation. Like maybe it's kind of like maybe we've gone from, I won't say me. I didn't anticipate Trent Brown doing what he did last year. Maybe you, I don't think you did either, but maybe it's gone from me having a big underestimation to maybe now I'm overestimating it. I just don't think if Trent Brown's healthy, they're just going to say, hey, you're the backup. This Smith guy is going to go in there and figure it out. I think it's going to be a competition. I think it's going to be a fun-ass competition to watch too, by the way.
It's someone brought to my attention, I guess Trent talked to Vandy and Harris on Texans radio, and he said, look, I'm going to be a totally different guy because I actually have an off season. And that's something we've talked about before, like coming off a major knee injury. And remember, he was going like 10% speed in training camp. And we were like, how is this guy ever getting on the field? And then 8 weeks later, he steps in the starting lineup. They don't lose a football game while he starts, you know? So having a real off season, a year further removed from that knee injury, there's a chance, I'm not going to guarantee it or tell you it's going to happen. There's a chance he's even a much better player than he was last year.
He has a decent tendency to be able to reel his weight in like every 2 weeks. It's pretty fascinating, but yeah, I want to see what Trent Brown looks like. Last year, he was mainly a teacher during camp and during
start of the season,
mini camp and all that. So I would anticipate that there's a little bit different vibe. It'll be interesting. I know we care about this. I don't think you can give offensive line updates too much in practice or mini camp or OTAs. Like I just think it's it's there. Like it's not saying this is the starting line. It's like this is a combination. This is a combination. This is what they did. This is the O-line combination. I'm a big O-line combination guy. I am interested to see like what it looks like at like the first mini camp, because Jake Andrews was the center and it was like, okay. And Jake Andrews was the starting center throughout the season. So there's kind of a track record of it meaning something. And Juice Scruggs was basically holding the bag. And Juice Scruggs, they ended up not wanting to play.
Yeah, Juice Scruggs not being a factor really at all. And then only getting an opportunity to be a factor when they had some guys get hurt and they had to shuffle the lineup around. And really, I still wonder if Cam Robinson never gets hurt and they don't do some of that shuffling that they did, if Juice never even makes the team. So, and they have a different O-line room from the jump. Obviously, Cam Robinson wouldn't have stuck there because he's Cam Robinson.
Yeah, Juice did a good job of taking advantage of the opportunities that he got, but yeah, it does mean something. And I'm a big like how they line up on the offensive line. It's a fun thing for me.
Well, you know what? If you can block these guys, you should be able to block most anybody.
And spoiler alert, I don't think they'll be able to.
Yeah, and the inverse is true too. If you can't block Solomon Byrd and you can't block Casey Toohill and you can't block Dylan Horton, you're not going to start Blake Fisher.
Yeah, I'm actually looking for. I like just covering camp as a whole, like the whole package of it and everything that goes on with it.
It's nice because you and I sit there and actually watch football for a few hours, and
locked in.
Don't treat it as the lunchroom.
It's always like when someone's trying to chat with you, it's almost like, man, I understand when my dad was just zoning me out, because it's like I'm taking every single note. Like it's not, and then you get the occasional like ask everything that went down and say, you got to watch. Now there's some people who just can't see, and you tell them like what happened, but they're actually there. You let them know, but like it's like, man, I'm wired in here, maybe a little bit too much. Enjoy it. Love me some camp. Too bad it's not going to be in West Virginia because they got bamboozled by the Giants, but it happens.
Bastards.
Swarm.
The Reb is in the building. Shout out to the Reb. Shout out to you, mi amigo, on the soup. He says, do you guys think we should use one of our second-round picks on a pass rusher we can develop over the next 2 years? We can't keep paying Hunter. It might be a smart move to draft a pass rusher now and develop so he's ready to replace Hunter when he leaves in 2 years. Couple things here. That's an ultimate chess move. What's it called? The king, where you can move 2 and 1 or something like that. My chest is a little bit. Wait, what is it? It's a pawn? No, the pawn's up there. What is it? What's the one where you can go 2-1?
2-1? What are you talking about 2-1?
Isn't there like a chest where you can go up 2 and over 1?
There's a piece that can move in L shapes, and they can jump over pieces. That's the knight. The
knight. So, yeah, that's like a knight chess move where you'll have Hunter for 2 years. You also do need pass rushers. Like the Derek Barnett role is very important to this football team. I don't think Dylan Horton can step in for Derek Barnett. So the answer to his question is yes. I could see this in the first round. Like if they love an edge guy, and I'm talking about age, like if Akeem Messidor is there, who Rod Wright, and he's 25 too, but who Rod Wright coached at Miami his freshman season. He's had a lot of good things to say about him. And if D'Amico Ryans and Matt Burke and Rod Wright crunch the tape and they like what Messidor is, you can just throw out my 25-year-old thing that I said about Emmanuel Pregnon. The answer to this is yes, especially if the opportunity presents itself. And I don't think it's just a long-term chess need. I think they need someone to fill like the Derek Barnett type of role, a guy who can make plays when called upon if he needs to start a game. Yeah, they need that very badly.
And there should be some names available. And I would go as far as to say as well, you have 2 guys that you can count on a defensive end. We think Logan Hall is going to be pretty decent, and we're giving them the benefit of the doubt because they've had a lot of success on the defensive line, and we trust the defense of the Houston Texans. But if he's not any good and then you're relying on Dylan Horton, like all of a sudden that those first and second down pass rushes where Will and Daniil are getting a little bit of breather on the sideline, they're a whole lot less impressive. But, yeah, you mentioned Akeem Messidor from Miami.
Falk always
Keldrick Falk from Auburn, a different style of pass rusher, kind of that heavy power guy. I would think Texas A&M's Cassius – yeah, I would think Texas A&M's Cassius Howell probably doesn't have the arm length that they like enough at defensive end. And then the name that the guy looks like you watch him and you could tell there's like a little bit of a, screw loose wire not connected the right way, but he's damn good, is Missouri's Zion Young.
Yeah, he's a freak. He's a pretty big freak. I don't know whether they like him or not. I
definitely think 28 or 38 pass rusher, edge rusher, however you want to phrase it, is in play. Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt. It'll be interesting to see. And I know D'Amico's going to be all over that D-line. Shout out to the Rev for doing his thing. Also, shout out to Ace Customs for doing their thing. Ace Outdoor Solutions, run by Zach. He's a Texans fan like you, and he's got a talent. You want to talk about versatility? My goodness, he can do anything. Tell him what he can do and how the people can get it done, Cody.
Man, from a custom pool to a custom patio covering to the dream outdoor kitchen that you have always wanted, Ace Outdoor Solutions can do it all for you. Go look at the work over at aceoutdoorsolutions.com. You can see some of the great stuff they've done, like the outdoor kitchen that you could turn around and serve the people who are sitting in the pool. I mean, how many people could put that together? Ace Outdoor Solutions could put that in your backyard. It could be something maybe as simple as, I want a new fence. Well, Ace Outdoor Solutions could do that for you as well. Maybe you have a gate for your driveway already, but you want an automatic gate. They could put automatic gates in there. It's small things, it's big things, and it's exactly what you want because it's customized to your ideas and what you can come up with. Give Zach a call today. Talk some football with him, and then talk about your backyard and be the backyard that everybody in the neighborhood wants to come hang out with. Be the backyard that everybody in the neighborhood is envious of, and get use out of your backyard because you enjoy the space, and it's exactly what you've always wanted. Ace Outdoor Solutions can do that for you.
There you go. On the chat, Kyle says, I love Peter Wood's upside. Poor wise ? Damn.
Oh, boy. We need the Kyle translators.
Peter Woods, we heard a good analogy from our boy Travis out there at A&M. His dad was at Spanky's, and he asked if he was this year's Luther Burden. So I thought that was a very fantastic analogy.
Peter Woods – weird offseason. Defensive tackle from Clemson. A year ago, people thought he was going to be a top 5, top 10 pick and did not play that way at Clemson. Has had a weird offseason where he hasn't done any of the drills and hasn't worked out and doesn't want to run the 40 and left the combine early. And it was there's obviously I think teams are going to do a lot more homework on this and they'll get a little bit more of the story and whatever team ends up with him is going to act like it's no big deal. But certainly there's going to be some teams that I don't quite get it with this Peter Woods guy. But when he was good for Clemson, he was excellent. And I'm certainly in favor of if he needs a little bit of, tough love, I would think D'Amico Ryans and his coaching staff can give you the right amount and maximize what he can bring to the table.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Back on Z-Chat.
Swarm.
Rogue Architect 1798 says you guys constantly mention not drafting a guard in the first 2 picks now because they wouldn't start now. Now we're talking about D-end when we have both our D-ends locked up for 2 years. First of all, I've never said that, whether they're going to play or not. I think they've invested heavily to where they don't feel that they're going to do it, or it's not as dire as it was when Jared Patterson was your starting left guard. But the difference between a D end and I think this should be like common sense. If we are just talking about this, you've said maybe because he's not going to play, you've said that, but I've never said that. But as far as the difference, they rotate D ends. So Derek Barnett plays, Dylan Horton plays, and D'Amico Ryans emphasizes rotating D ends. Unless you just do something insanely crazy, you're not really rotating guards. So I think that would be the difference. But yeah, I wouldn't shy away from it because the guy's not going to play. And and when I've talked about drafting a guard, I've talked about the possibility of Teller and Ingram competing at guard. So I think you're kind of having an imaginary thought there, Rogue.
Look, I don't see a path to the guy getting on the field right away, but I would also tell you this: you take an offensive lineman at 28 or 38. Wyatt Teller's got an injury history over the past couple seasons. So does Braden Smith. So does Trent Brown. So there's opportunities for them to play, but there's no path to getting on the field consistently. And especially some guys aren't going to handle that well, and it won't be good for their development. We talked about it earlier in the show with Proctor. And
then, you subscribe more to if he's not going to play this year, don't take him. I don't. That doesn't really stop me really from that. So I think he's I would take
Pregnon at 38. I would take Pregnon at 38 and have him be the guard after Teller. That's totally fine for me. Now you're going to want a lot out of the 28th overall pick if you take a guy who's not playing at 38, but there's a path to being on the field consistently for an edge rusher because the third edge rusher is not established on this team. We think it's going to be Logan Hall. And if it's not, and if it is Logan Hall, there's still the fourth edge rusher, which they put on the field with the third edge rusher because they do that rotation thing at defensive end.
Yeah, they do it at DT, they do it at DE, and a lot of times fans look on the sidelines. They're like, "Why the hell is Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson? Why the hell are they on the sidelines?" Well, and then you see Derek Barnett making plays and stuff, and that's one of the roles that they do have to replace. That is kind of an under the radar thing that you don't necessarily emphasize and talk about as much as that Derek Barnett role. It needs to be filled.
Yeah, and if it was going to be Derek Barnett, I would assume Derek Barnett's already back. So
maybe
it's also
be on standby.
Well, it's also a position that if the draft didn't fall their way, they didn't want this guy or that they couldn't draft that guy. You call Derek Barnett after the draft, say, "Hey, you want to run it back for one more year?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure. I'll just extend my lease."
And touche on the chat, the rotating guards. Like it normally outside of that weird shit that Popovich pulled against Seattle and then briefly with City. So that analogy would hit 100%. Now I think it probably hits about 70% in our chat because that was one of the most popular polarizing topics when they did rotate guard.
It's probably, to me, the worst thing that Cole Popovich has done since he took over. And he never had to answer for it. Nobody asked him. D'Amico had to answer for it. Kaylee had to answer for it. The guys that were getting rotated had to answer for it. And then Popovich, by the time he would have got asked about it, they'd figured out the line.
But you know what it was.
They sucked.
He hates juice grogs. Like that,
yes.
It was that was like, for some reason, I don't know. He doesn't seem hateable, like, to me, but like he hates juice grogs.
Yeah, it didn't seem like they got along.
He really hated him. Like for some reason, he just hated juice grogs. It doesn't feel like he hates Blake Fisher as much, or else he just the tackle eligible thing happened, but he hates juice grogs.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot to like about Blake Fisher. Maybe there's less to hate, but I don't think there's a lot to like.
And this is a good point. It is because you ducked Popovich. You said he didn't have to speak for it. You ducked him. Thank you, Yusuf, for the observation. Yeah. And thank you, Patrick, for the cosign.
Yeah.
You're supposed to run. You're supposed to run when that music hits.
Get out of here. I mean, if I talked to him and the O-line went out there and had a bad week and the winning streak died, everybody be blaming me. So I took one for the team here.
Yeah, he started getting it right. And they did not seem overly urgent about the request after the Seattle game, if in fairness, but there was a little bit of duckage there. What is your perfect 28 and 38 combo?
Ooh. Can I guess yours?
Go ahead.
I think yours is Caden McDonald, Eli Stowers.
Yes, it is. It is definitely Caden McDonald. That is 100%. And by the way, I have put together a draft challenge in which Cody has to fulfill a challenge during the draft.
Oh, boy.
Depending on which prospect gets drafted.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and McDonald, do you want to know the McDonald one or do you want me to save it?
Yeah, tell me the McDonald one because it feels highly likely.
All right, so you have two choices with McDonald, and I have stuff for all of them. But with McDonald, the challenge if McDonald gets drafted is you either have to wear his face paint on the day 2 draft stream. You have to wear his face paint, and let me show the face paint here. This is what Cody has to wear on the day 2 stream.
Jesus.
If McDonald gets drafted, Cody has to wear his face paint for day 2. That's option 1. So
that seems real freaking fair.
So you have to rock that. That's option 1. There you go.
Okay, it's not his full face because he leaves part of his forehead.
Okay, so you're going with option 1 then.
No. I'm just explaining that it's not what people think it is.
Okay, so Cody, you either have to wear his full face paint, or in the spirit of McDonald's, on day 2 of the draft, over the span of 5 picks, you have to eat a 20-piece nugget, a large fry, and the McDonald's burger of your choice. And I'm going to be nice, it can be from McDouble all the way to Big Mac / Quarter Pounder.
Oh, that's light work. I'll do that.
Okay, so there you go. There you go. You've declined the face paint challenge, so we will go. You have to eat a 20-piece, a burger, a large fry, and a soda in a 5-pick span.
If it just didn't look so fully covered, like if it was just like an eye down the middle, like
I think you made
that'd be easier to do, but he covers most of his face, and if I do it, it's going to look bad.
Yeah, and if you don't finish the McDonald's, then you have to do the face paint. So.
but maybe I'll do it with sweet and sour sauce.
By the way, we talk about accountability a lot of times, and we talk about it in like football and all that type of stuff. Did you see how accountable Burger King is now with their commercials yesterday during the tourney?
Oh, they're doing like the "We heard you."
They're doing that. We know that y'all said that when done right, and this is exactly it. When done right, the Whopper is the best. So we're doing everything we can now to make sure it's always done right.
Yeah, bring back the fries from the 90s, then we can have a conversation, Burger King.
That's what they said, though. They said they're trying to do right. So there we go. Let me hear your perfect.
28-38?
28-38 combo.
Man, I think 28 for me is I really like Caleb Banks, the defensive tackle from Florida. I understand the concern about the foot. I understand the worry about the injury and drafting a guy who is currently, as we discuss him, hurt. I get that. I just believe if healthy, he's an incredible player. And then at 38, I really like this player, and I understand the lack of playing time for him, but Blake Miller, the tackle from Clemson, you put him in there in that tackle room. He's a big tackle. He's 6'6". He's played a gazillion snaps at Clemson. There's probably some things to his game that needs to get fine-tuned. Great. Go learn from Braden Smith and Trent Brown. And this year, you're kind of persona non grata. Next year, you're the backup tackle. The year after that, they hand you the right tackle spot.
All right, so that's your 2-piece combo. By the way, there is a Banks challenge too.
Oh boy, I have to put my foot in my mouth or something.
No, so at the draft party, which is on the 25th, you have to stand on one foot for 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
20 minutes. You can be leaning on a table, but you have to hop to a place, or and you can't be sitting. You have to be standing on one foot for 20 minutes if they take Banks. So you have McDonald's, which, by the way, the McDonald's challenge, everyone is saying is light work, which I would agree with. But you have to do either the McDonald's challenge, but if they take Banks, you have to stand on one foot for 20 minutes.
All right, I like that one. That was not too bad. That was not too bad.
That Fort Worth guy on Z Chat
Swarm.
says, when it comes to Peter Woods, D'Amico Ryans isn't the female lead character of a chick flick. It's not his job to fix him. I don't see him coming here. What's the biggest fix on him? Is what I like. Is it effort? Was it just a one-off year? And I think that's where the Luther Burden analogy came from. I just from
was it motivation? Was he not excited to play that position? Like he's going to explain it to that was one thing he said at the combine was, I did what Clemson asked me to do. I did what was best for the team, and it wasn't best for my stats. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit there. That's a Texans answer. Like he did the job. He doesn't have to like it. And Caserio could say it. I don't know. I fully believe him, but he's like, I don't care if they work out in the off season. I don't care if they do the drills. I just wanted to be in football shape. Like, okay, well, if you draft Peter Woods, I'll believe you.
Yeah, I don't know about like doesn't care about the drills. That's kind of, I mean, you literally have had coaches out there running the drills. Like, what were they doing it for fun?
He runs the drills at other teams' pro days.
I'm saying, like, Caserio is like, there's a healthy amount, and I'm not even saying it's like unnecessary, but there's like a healthy amount of bullshit that coaches and GMs and stuff put out. D'Amico and Caserio just feed off each other, so it's kind of like Costco bullshit, like in bulk. But there is no more bullshit than what Nick Caserio, the unnecessary bullshit he spews sometimes during the draft, starting with at the very top, I don't know what draft best player available means or draft for need means. So stupid.
Yeah.
Unnecessary sometimes.
Draft for need. Oh, the draft's just another way to add players to the team. Like it's the same as free agency. It's a mechanism to add players to the team. Like, sure. Sure.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous when it comes to that. So what is at stake for the front office / staff in 2026? And I ask this question because we live in a business where I think we naturally get really pumped for the draft. Like we just get really excited. We've loved it. We've loved it since we were young. We love it now. We're big fans of what the draft, everything that it provides, everything that it brings to the table. What is at stake for, like, if we just divide three guys, and I'm just going to focus on three guys, Caserio, D'Amico, and let's say Nick Caley. Like, what is at stake for these three guys? And when you say what's at stake, like, what are the consequences if things look the same as they did this year and you have the same result or worse?
Caley's the one that's in the most danger of those three to me. It's easier to change out the offensive coordinator than it is to change the general manager, and I don't anticipate that they're changing the head coach anytime soon. So, I mean, they went to the playoffs and won a playoff game and still changed the offensive coordinator. They might do the same thing again if the offense doesn't get to where it needs to be. Now, the other thing is they might be changing the quarterback along with that guy if it doesn't work out. But Caley, to me, is the one that's in the most danger. You've got to prove that you are a coach. One of Bobby's biggest criticisms was he didn't get better from year one to year two. And Bobby had a really good first year as offensive coordinator. Caley was fine at times, but for the most part is a disappointing offense. Like he's got to get much better, I would think, to keep his job. From a Caserio standpoint, you know, his fingerprints on the staff, maybe that just goes away if this doesn't work. All the John Carroll guys, all the former Patriot guys, maybe that goes away and it's like, hey, go pick the players and I'll worry about the staff.
Yeah, I would say that I don't think you can separate Nick Caserio from Nick Caley. I think this is the ultimate compromise where Nick Caserio the offense is basically being run in the manner in which Nick Caserio wants it to run. So what does that mean? Like, is at stake? I think we probably see D'Amico Ryans as the head honcho. The problem with that is I don't know that D'Amico Ryans really has like the pipeline or the ability. Like, as much as we criticize Nick Caserio for picking the offensive staff, I don't know that D'Amico Ryans really has like a overwhelmingly large Rolodex of guys that he wants to bring in to coach offense. So I think that kind of becomes a little bit of an issue in itself. But I'm with you. Like if the next step is not taken, then I think it's obviously Nick Caley's gone. And then I think Nick Caserio is going to have to assess himself, because that would be a clean split. 2 years of what D'Amico wanted on offense, and then 2 years of what Caserio wanted on offense. I think in a perfect world, they would have stuck with Bobby Slowick for one more year. It's complete hindsight, 100%, 100,000 million, admittedly complete hindsight. So I'm not sitting here saying like it was obvious. Bobby needed to go. I agree. But stick with him one more year. See if CJ can get over whatever was planted in his head about Bobby Slowick. And you're on the market for Brian Dable if Nick Caserio wants to run his type of offense, or Mike McDaniel if D'Amico Ryans. Although I think going to Chargers is probably a little bit more appealing for Mike McDaniel. But that would have been the ideal scenario, where now you have the new offensive coordinator and now you're figuring it out. But we'll see what happens. Like, anything can happen. And maybe Nick Caley ends up doing the complete opposite of Bobby Slowick. And that would be great for me. I like the guy. He takes a lot of my shit and he takes it in stride. So I like Nick Caley. I'll criticize Nick Caley when it's due. And I'll also say he did his job better than the quarterback at the end of last season. But I think it's obviously him on the line, and then Nick Caserio and D'Amico. Maybe it's behind the scenes taking a step back. But I don't think there's like a situation with how this roster is that you fire the GM. I don't think we've gotten to that point. But I do think D'Amico has the largest shelf life. I think D'Amico's shelf life is larger than anyone else's.
I mean, you'd have to. I mean, Wyatt Teller, Braden Smith would both have to suck, and the draft would have to suck. Like, all the players drafted, the draft would have to suck, and like, even then, maybe you're like, well, it's just a bad year for Caserio. Like, I guess I mean, it feels really tough to see a scenario where Nick Caserio doesn't continue to be the general manager of this team. Nick Caley, a little bit easier to see him out the door, and someone else off that Shanahan Kubiak tree gets picked to run the offense. But it's hard to see this D'Amico and Nick Caserio tandem not here for the next few seasons.
I think this team truly is. I don't want people to take this the wrong way. I think they're truly a quarterback away right now with this roster, regardless of what holes you think they have, and along with the potential that they have to improve areas of the roster, no matter what. So I think they're a really, 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 really good quarterback away from competing at a championship level. And that quarterback can be CJ Stroud. So I'm not sitting like that can be an improved version of CJ Stroud. Like, I'm not sitting here saying CJ Stroud's awful and CJ Stroud can't perform at a really high level and get really good. But I think at this point, when you just put the quarterback to the side, there's a lot of times like we hear, well, this team's a quarterback away, or, they just need a quarterback. If they had a quarterback, who knows what they could be. I think that's kind of where the Texans are right now, with reason for optimism when it comes to CJ Stroud, and reason for healthy pessimism and healthy skepticism when it comes to CJ Stroud. So depending on what happens after this year, I think that will probably still be the case, because we can talk about the holes and there are questions. I think as far as just the overall talent on the roster, I think it's a really good roster, where if you just take off the quarterback position, I think it's probably in the top 10.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, maybe 8, 5. I mean, if you just, it's a pretty good roster. And that's keeping in the back of your mind that the things you don't like about it, they have an ability to kind of tweak in 24 days.
Yeah, I would say that I agree with you with the Stroud and the quarterback away from it. It feels like they're an entire offense away, though. Like, they couldn't run the football last year either. Like, it's CJ, and it's primarily CJ. It's the other 10 guys too. Like, but if CJ comes back, he's 2023 CJ, they might be the number 1 seed.
Yeah, if that guy still exists. So, I mean, and that's an if. So, I mean, nothing's more at stake. We talk about the front office. Quarterbacks can carry front offices. They can carry bad coaches. They can carry bad offensive coordinators. for many a years. So
well, they can sink a team too. They could be a big fat anchor that drags you to the bottom.
That can happen. So that's where we're at. What else is going on today at the owners meetings? What else you got going? What's going on in Arizona? Where's the place to eat? What do we got planned?
So they have like a reception at the hotel where all the coaches and GMs and media people get to come and mingle and hang out. So that's where I'm going to.
Hey, bro, Alpha Aaron here.
Yeah, they very clearly state that it is not like a photo opportunity. One of the first things Alpha Aaron did last year was take a picture with Guy Fieri.
Oh, that's where that picture was, dude. It was when I met Guy Fieri. That was like the craziest experience ever. I could not believe it.
He was nice. Yeah,
we talked for 20 minutes.
That's great.
20 minutes, and that's like my wife's favorite. So I was a little concerned, but we just happened to be. It was like 2 a.m. in Caesars, and he was like sitting there. At first, he had like a security guy, and she said, "What's up?" And at first, he was just kind of messing around, and then he realized like she was like a normal fan. And I guess his wife had gone somewhere, so like he comes over, and we're just chatting about media and just normal life stuff and all that. And he was cool, and I was happy because there was a chance this guy could be an asshole, and that's like the only person that my wife like binge watches and stuff. So I was like, okay, yeah, you're cool.
I've of all the people that are like
with us,
yeah,
no, because he was so cool to us that we and I was proud of my wife for not doing it, but she didn't even ask for a picture. Like we just said, all right, man, have a good night. Like after a 20-minute conversation, and he said, yeah, I don't do pictures that much. He's like, but hey, grab their phone. He told the person, he's like, yeah, we'll take a picture. And we're like, oh, thank you, man. We wanted to, but we didn't do it.
Of the people that got famous because their job ended up on TV, I feel like there's such a low hit rate for people being chefs and being nice. So it's nice that the Guy Fieri was nice.
Bobby Flay, probably an asshole.
Yes. As 50 or 65% of the people that win an episode of Chopped, probably a jerk.
Yeah, probably not a nice guy.
Yeah,
completely honest. So So Aaron did that. The Alpha. I need you to get some like candid video of the Alpha just working the room. And I know the Alpha listed, so he's probably going to be on. But I need at least 30 people. Tell Cody he's got to get this done. His assignment. He's got to get 30 seconds of Alpha Aaron working the room today. 30 seconds.
I'll see what I can do.
30 seconds.
He was the first person that saw me when I walked in today.
Who?
Alpha Aaron.
Oh, the Alpha.
And he turned and he's like,
the Alpha. Yeah, he got the picture that all the reporters seem to want though when the coaches took the photo.
That's my Uber dropped me off as they were lining up for that. I saw all the coaches like walking down the sidewalk, and I'm like getting my.
We're back there trying to get that pic.
What's that?
How many media types were back there trying to get that pic?
Oh, it looked like TMZ was outside waiting to take the picture.
Dude, I saw like everybody got it. The Alpha got it. Schefter got it. Like all the NFL got like their own version of the pic.
The worst was there was like two media guys that put it out, and it was like you took it from like the side. You can't see everybody. What are you doing?
Yeah, Aaron got that too.
Yeah.
Aaron got the side. I think Shefty got the side too. It was like there's a lot going on there. Here we go. There's the Alf. The Alf got his annual NFL honor meetings photo right there. Oh, he got in the middle a little bit. Yeah.
Gotta love Andy Reid wearing the Hawaiian shirt.
It's kind of a tradition. It's kind of his bit.
Yeah.
By the way, if you didn't know, the Saints and Browns international rights announced today. Peter O'Reilly, NFL executive VP, club business.
I will say the Saints getting Italy as a market, the Texans only have one international market assigned to them. It's Mexico. And the games in Mexico City have been, frankly, bullshit. They've been awful. I wouldn't mind the Texans ended up with a little bit of Italy. Let's go to Italy and watch a football game.
Aaron, by the way, what do you know about Aaron? Just he mentioned Cannon Butler out of Iowa State.
Got nothing for you on Cannon Butler. Cool name. Did you see this? Somebody tweeted out, it might have been Aaron. Somebody tweeted out that Texans talked to some Texas A&M defensive lineman. And I was like,
the Alpha's on the grind right now, man.
I was like, well, that guy doesn't seem like has he been at A&M all these years? No, he hadn't. It was his only year at A&M this last year. Guess where he was before that? Iowa State.
There we go.
They love the Iowa State guys.
There we go. All right, tomorrow. What time is D'Amico talking?
He talks at 5:30 Central Time.
Okay. So,
in the morning. So when you wake up tomorrow, you'll see quotes and videos and have all this conversation to be talking about.
So, wow. So 9:30 our times.
Am I doing the times wrong?
Wait, you said 5:30?
Yeah, I'm doing the times wrong. I did it, flipped it. It's 9:30. 9:30 Central Time.
Okay, so 7:30 that time.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. So yeah, D'Amico, we'll have some
time zones, the mortal enemy of SNL.
We will hear from D'Amico Ryans manana, and we will be 23 days away from the draft. Let us know your dream scenarios. Let us know what prospects you do not like. Be on the lookout for the draft party announcements coming your way later this week. Subscribe, like, ride along. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.